Discover the incredible moment when a lonely CEO transforms a little girl's life through dance. Jack stood at the peak of his corporate empire, yet in his heart, a void echoed louder than the triumphant clinks of glasses at the last corporate gala. Every night, he dined alone, the dim light casting a haunting shadow on empty plates. Success. It was supposed to be his ticket to happiness, but it was just a heavy chain dragging him deeper into loneliness. On this particular gray afternoon, as Jack drove through the desolate streets of a suburb once vibrant with life, he felt the weight of isolation pressing on him like a fog. Then, he heard it, laughter and music, a soft, mellifluous hum wafting from a nearby community center. Curiosity pulled him closer, and as he stepped inside, he was met with a surge of energy. Children danced, giggling and twirling like tiny constellations. In the far corner, a little girl named Maya captivated him. She danced with a grace that belied her torn shoes and frayed clothes, her heart radiating joy amid chaos. Tears threatened Jack's eyes as he watched this timid soul, full of resilience, find freedom through dance. Maya's smile lit up the room. She moved like the wind, breezy and carefree, embodying the spirit Jack had lost in pursuit of wealth. Yet, as he learned her story raised by a single mother working multiple jobs, it struck Jack like a thunderbolt. Maya's mother was struggling to keep her in the dance class that brought her such pure happiness. Jack couldn't sit back. An inexplicable pull drew him to her. He decided to step in and help, transforming into her dance mentor. At first, it felt like stepping into an unfamiliar realm. But in those quiet moments over music and movement, something profound began to blossom. Maya taught him the joy of trust. Her innocent giggle chipped away at the layers of sorrow he'd built up. Together they danced through a world of hope and connection, a colorful tapestry woven from the threads of their contrasting lives. Each lesson in the art of dance became a lesson for Jack's heart, slowly knitting it back together. But just when he thought he could breathe freely, the world of corporate betrayal crashed down on him like a storm. His company fell into scandal, shrouded in unethical practices that led to layoffs. Jack felt his old life tug at him, asking him to protect himself, to remain silent. Yet, how could he abandon Maya and the community that had taught him so much about connection? He stood on a precipice, the weight of decision pressing on him harder than any corporate meeting he'd ever faced. Just as the rhythm of a pivotal dance recital approached, with Maya's spirit lifting the community's hopes, Jack felt the fire in his heart flare. He could save his career or fight for what was right. The choice felt overwhelming. Standing on the precipice of change, Jack was torn between the corporate machine that offered safety and the community that had become his soul's lifeline. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the curtain rose and the music filled the air, Jack's heart raced. Would he dance alongside Maya, embracing the transformative power of hope and love, or retreat into shadows of regret? The lights shone down, illuminating a path of uncertainty. Would he choose the rhythm of community, or would greed pull him away, leaving Maya dancing alone in the spotlight? The answer hung heavy in the air, a question waiting for him to decide. Jack's gaze fixed on the stage as the music swelled and the audience erupted in applause. In that fraught moment, everything felt magnified: the bright lights, the expectant faces, and most importantly, Maya, who stood at the front with her eyes sparkling with hope. His heart pounded in sync with the beat, a rhythmic urging that echoed in his mind: fight for what matters. As the dance began, Maya twirled like a flower unfurling toward the sun, and Jack felt himself swept up by her energy, despite the whirlwind of doubt swirling within him. There was magic in the air. It felt like the universe whispered, pushing him to step forward along with her. But his phone buzzed insistently in his pocket, an unwelcome reminder of the chaos that lurked outside the sanctuary they had created together. He glanced briefly at the screen and saw a message from his lawyer. Urgent need to discuss the ongoing investigation. The words felt like a weight, pulling him back toward the dark corridors of his corporate world, each syllable a reminder of the choice that awaited him. Yet in that instant, as he watched Maya dance, he realized he had already begun to choose. Her joy was now his anchor, pulling him deeper into the moment. With every graceful spin of Maya's body, Jack saw flashes of potential that could easily get dimmed by corporate greed. He remembered her story, her struggles, the late nights, and the tireless love of her mother trying to keep their dreams alive. It was all so much bigger than paperwork and profits. It was about community, connection, and hope. Suddenly, the music shifted. The notes grew louder, more urgent, mirroring Jack's racing heart. It was as if the world around him paused, the audience holding collective breaths, waiting for a decision to unfold. Would he choose to create his legacy or protect a crumbling facade? As Maya finished her solo and the crowd erupted into cheers, Jack felt a fierce resolve ignite within him. He couldn't let her down. A spark of bravery ignited in his chest. He could be the change, not just for Maya but for everyone affected by the scandal looming over his corporate empire. With the last notes of the music still lingering in the air, Jack stepped toward the stage. The spotlight grew brighter as he crossed the threshold. Gasps echoed through the crowd as they recognized him. But he couldn't retreat now. He locked eyes with Maya, the embodiment of everything pure and hopeful in his life. "Maya!" he called out. She turned, momentarily startled, then beamed a radiant smile. He took her hand, lifting her into an impromptu dance. The CEO and the little girl, together, redefined. The audience roared with approval, but it was nothing compared to the warmth blooming in Jack's heart. As they moved in rhythm, he felt the weight of his corporate burdens begin to slip away. This was true liberation. They spun and twirled, and Jack became acutely aware that every rhythm, every movement, was a step away from the life he had once deemed preferable. But what would happen when the world outside this dance faded back in? Would he be ready to face the consequences of standing up? The music reached its crescendo, a swell of hope mingled with unresolved tension. What awaited him when the curtain fell? Would he lose everything for a dance, or gain something far more valuable? The answer thrummed in the air, waiting to unfold. The music faded, but the energy lingered in the air like the last notes of a beautiful song. As the applause rang in Jack's ears, he felt the warmth of Maya's hand in his. It was a moment out of time, where everything else blurred into obscurity. Slowly, he let go of her hand, but the connection between them remained electrifying. It was not just about the dance, it was about shared dreams, braving the tides of uncertainty, and daring to hope. The crowd was still cheering, but Jack could see beyond the lights now. All his doubts, the messages from his lawyer, the impending scandal, they felt like shadows, creeping back into focus. He took a deep breath, letting the adrenaline wash over him. Here, amid the audience's delight, he knew he had already made a decision. Inside his chest, where fear had once resided, there was now a spark of courage that felt intoxicating. "Maya," he said, still feeling buoyed by the magic of the moment. "Let us show them our best moves." Her face lit up with pure delight, and she nodded enthusiastically, her little ponytail bouncing. Jack led her back to the center of the stage, and together they began to dance once more, feeding off the applause that turned into a sea of joyous energy. He could see their impact families smiling, parents holding their children a little closer. But even as they twirled, Jack couldn't shake off the gnawing worry in the back of his mind. He had chosen to embrace this moment fully, yet he knew that the reality waiting for him backstage was anything but forgiving. Would the burst of bravery translate into a real shift in his life? Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows backstage. It was his lawyer Leo, a man whose face rarely slipped from serious to playful. The concern creasing Leo's brow was unmistakable. Jack's heart sank. This couldn't wait. He knew it meant trouble, and trouble was never too far from his corporate life. "Maya, stay right here," Jack instructed, his voice low yet purposeful. With one last smile to the girl who had rekindled his spirit, he stepped off the stage, the applause fading into the background. He walked toward Leo, ready to face the daunting responsibility ahead of him. Jack felt a heavy knot settle in his stomach as they stood in an empty corridor, the echo of celebration fading behind them. "What is going on?" Jack asked, his voice barely masking the tension he felt. "It's about the investigation," Leo began, but Jack interrupted. "Can it wait? Just for a moment? I need to," he hesitated, searching for words. "I need to make sure Maya knows what just happened. She needs to feel this moment, to believe that dreams can come true." "Jack, this is serious." "Every minute counts," Leo pressed, but Jack couldn't shake the urgency he felt for Maya. "Leo, promise me she stays in the light, even for a little while longer," Jack said, locking eyes with the lawyer, anchoring his plea in the heart of their relationship. Was it arrogance to push against the corporate schemes? Perhaps. But wasn't he losing that bright light of hope worth the risk? Leo exhaled, seemingly reading the determination in Jack's gaze. "Fine. We'll talk in a few minutes. But remember, time is not our ally." Jack nodded quickly, racing back toward the stage, propelled by a sense of purpose. He had one chance to protect this precious moment, to shield Maya's uninhibited joy from the harsh world outside. As he climbed back, the music was still playing, the lights twinkling like stars above them. But now it felt different, more of an invitation to stand for something greater. He reached Maya, who was still buzzing with excitement, waiting for him as if nothing else mattered. "Ready?" he asked, taking her small hands in his. The anticipation fizzing between them felt more substantial now, filled with possibility. Was he ready to fight the battles ahead? Before him was a path that could lead to his destruction, or forge new beginnings. The stakes were high, but there was no going back. As they took their positions, the audience now an eager sea of faces, Jack felt electricity coursing through him, a fierce determination to dance for more than just himself. What if this dance became his declaration? Could he use it to inspire not just Maya, but everyone watching? As the music swelled once more, Jack glided effortlessly into the rhythm, but a new question lingered: what would be the next step once the music stopped? Would he find the courage to confront the shadows lurking in his life? The moment their feet connected with the floor, everything snapped into focus. The world outside disappeared once more, leaving only Jack and Maya, wrapped in the exhilarating embrace of rhythm and joy. As they danced, every turn, every lift spoke of hope and connection. No longer just a CEO burdened by scandal, Jack transformed into a mentor, a protector, and a friend. Maya's laughter rang out like the sweetest melody. Her small frame contrasted with his, but their chemistry was undeniable. Each shared glance, every synchronized motion drew the crowd deeper into their world. Jack could feel the pulse of the audience, their cheers igniting a fire within him, a fire he had forgotten he possessed. But as he twirled Maya against the shimmering backdrop of lights, fleeting thoughts of his impending troubles flickered at the edges of his mind. He fought to push them aside, wanting desperately to stay immersed in this moment. It was intoxicating, dancing freely, feeling the chains of corporate life slip away, if only for a while. "Jack! Look!" Maya shouted, pointing to the crowd. He followed her gaze and saw families standing in awe, moved not just by the performance but by the love and spirit radiating from their dance. Kids were smiling, couples were laughing, and even the older folks were clapping along. A sense of belonging washed over him. But then a shiver of anxiety prickled his skin. Was it really enough? Did this moment swing the pendulum back in his favor, or was he simply delaying the inevitable? He tried to regain focus, but the weight of responsibility was heavy, pulling him back toward reality. As the music shifted to a softer tune, Jack took a risk. With a smooth motion, he knelt down, dipping Maya gently so that she was parallel to the ground, her hair cascading around her like a halo. Children gasped and adults leaned forward, captivated by the unexpected move. Jack held her up for just a heartbeat longer, their eyes locked in an unspoken understanding. In that instant, he knew that this dance wasn't just a show. It was a promise that even in the midst of chaos, beauty could prevail. He lifted her back up, and they returned to the rhythm, every beat imbued with newfound energy. As they finished their dance, the crowd erupted. Jack's heart raced from the exhilaration but also from the swell of emotions crashing over him. Maya was beaming, and for a moment, he felt more alive than he ever had. But the applause was soon drowned out by the impending reality of Leo's words echoing in his mind. Time is not our ally. As they took a bow, Jack glanced back to the wings of the stage, where Leo stood, arms crossed and an expression that betrayed his impatience. Okay, Maya, let us celebrate, he declared, sweeping his arms wide, gathering her in for a bear hug. She squealed with delight, her laughter filling the space where tension had once festered. But he knew he couldn't prolong the inevitable. It was time to face the music both literally and metaphorically. As he turned to exit the stage, his heart weighed heavily with the uncertainty ahead. Would he be able to keep the flame of hope alive? Maya tugged at his sleeve, her oversized eyes shining. Did we really make people believe, Jack? Did you see them? He knelt down to meet her gaze. Yes, we did. And you, Maya, you have a gift. We made them dream. But in his heart, a different question gnawed at him. What happened when those dreams faced reality, the cold, unforgiving truth that awaited him outside this magical bubble? With one last glance at the adoring crowd, Jack steeled himself and walked toward Leo, knowing he would need every ounce of strength to confront what was next. What lay ahead could alter everything he fought for. Would he be able to turn dreams into reality, or would he watch them slip through his fingers like sand? As Jack stepped off the stage, the vibrant lights dimmed behind him, leaving only the lingering echoes of cheers and applause. The feel of Maya's small hand still wrapped around his sleeve reminded him of the warmth that lingered between them, a stark contrast to the cool facade that loomed from the wings. Leo's expression was a different kind of weight, pressing down on Jack harder than any crowd's excitement could lift him. Jack, we need to talk, Leo said, his voice a deep, throaty whisper that cut through the haze of adrenaline still racing through Jack's veins. The urgency in Leo's tone made Jack's stomach twist. He'd spent the last few minutes lost in Maya's laughter, but reality was crashing back in. Can it wait? Jack replied, putting on a brave face, though he could see the tightness around Leo's mouth. Just give me a moment to breathe. No, it can't, Leo insisted, stepping closer, his tone sharp. We need a strategy for tomorrow's meeting. The board isn't going to wait for your little dance break to clear things up. Jack resisted the urge to roll his eyes. He wasn't just some dancing CEO. He had hopes, dreams, and the passion to make everything right, not just for himself, but for the people who believed in him. Yet here he was, every moment spent in joy creeping back into the shadows of impending doom. He looked back at the stage as if it might offer him a lifeline. There was still a flush of fulfillment in his chest, a hope sprouting from his dance with Maya. Would the board respond to that? Were they moved as the audience had been? Jack. Leo's voice snapped him back. Look, I get that you care about Maya, but this is serious. If you don't turn this around, we're looking at some real consequences. You need to be focused. Jack nodded, but inside, he was torn. The faces in the crowd, their smiles, and the connection he'd felt while dancing, it all mattered so much more than corporate politics. Leo, if we can harness this energy, if we can use what Maya and I just created. Stop right there, Leo interjected, raising a hand. That was just a performance. It doesn't mean anything in the boardroom. You need results, not feelings. Jack's heart sank. He saw the truth in Leo's words. Just moments before, he felt invincible, like he could conquer the world. But now, standing there in stark reality, he was just a man facing the repercussions of his choices. We could work a campaign around community engagement, leverage how we touch those people's lives, Jack proposed, feeling a flicker of hope amidst the dread. Maya's story could resonate with the board, show them we're more than just a company. Leo crossed his arms, visibly unconvinced. You're walking a thin line, Jack. Using a child's story as a marketing tool might backfire. You need to be careful. Jack felt the weight of all of it pressing down again. Could he really risk it all on something as unpredictable as a dance? As he searched for words, seeking some footing in the conversation, a shout rang out from the side. Maya! A voice broke through, frantic and desperate. Jack turned to see Maya's mother pushing through the crowd, her expression a blend of panic and urgency. Jack's heart surged. Stay here, he told Leo, hoping to break away. He rushed towards Maya's mom, who seemed nearly breathless. Where's Maya? She demanded, scanning the room. She was just here. An icy grip of worry coiled around Jack's heart. What if the joy they had just shared came with another layer of responsibility? Maya! He called, darting his gaze around. Maya, where are you? Would this moment of happiness hold the answers Jack needed, or was it just the start of a new dilemma? The crowd dwindled, leaving behind echoes of laughter. Something was shifting, and Jack couldn't shake the feeling that trouble was on the horizon. Jack's heart raced as he pushed through the remnants of the crowd, a growing sense of dread gnawing at him. Where could Maya have gone? Her small frame had been dancing joyfully just moments ago. Now, the euphoria of the evening felt like a distant memory, overshadowed by the urgency of Maya's mother's frantic eyes. Maya! He shouted again, panic edging his voice. He moved past clusters of people still basking in the afterglow of the performance, their laughter now muffled background noise. There had to be a way to cut through the crowd, to find the child who had brought so much light into this challenging moment. Maya! He called out, desperation clawing at his throat. Sweetheart, can you hear me? He spotted a few of her friends near the refreshment table, giggling, but their laughter quickly faded as they noticed his distressed expression. They shook their heads when he inquired if they had seen Maya. A lump formed in Jack's throat. What would happen if he couldn't find her? Maya's mom, he stammered, but the words felt inadequate against the throbbing concern. At that moment, his phone buzzed in his pocket, a brief distraction. He grabbed it, glancing at the screen. There was an email from the board. The subject line read, "Urgent meeting tomorrow." A chill raced down his spine. He would need to get his mind focused if he was going to navigate through the chaos awaiting him. But every second felt like an eternity without Maya. Jack! A voice broke through his spiraling thoughts. It was Leo, appearing suddenly at his side, frustration etched across his face. What's going on? Maya is missing, Jack replied, the urgency in his tone undeniable. Her mom asked me to help find her. You have to stay focused, Leo shot back, his tone more insistent than ever. This is not the time for distractions. We need a solid plan for the meeting. For a moment, Jack felt torn between duty and a deeper instinct pushing him forward. How could he stand by when someone needed him? If you can't take this seriously, Leo, then maybe you should leave, Jack snapped, rallying the strength of his frustration. This was different. Maya was a part of his life now. She had opened a door, allowed him a glimpse of hope. And he wasn't about to let that go. He turned back to the audience, scanning desperate faces, searching for any sign of Maya. Just as he felt the weight of despair slipping in, he heard a soft giggle from behind the curtain. Relief washed over him. Maya? He called gently, moving closer to the sound. Pushing aside the curtain, he found her curled up on the floor, her small hands clutching a couple of soft toys. Maya! He exclaimed, rushing forward to kneel beside her. What are you doing here? Playing, she giggled, her eyes sparkling up at him. They were so soft, and I wanted to know if they were as nice as they looked. Jack laughed, the tension breaking as he pulled her into a gentle hug. You had me worried. Everyone's looking for you. Maya beamed, not fully grasping the wave of fear that had just crashed over him. The world around them melted back into clarity. Come on, let us get you back to your mom, he urged, standing up, holding her little hand in his. As they made their way back, Jack felt a warmth spread through him, a simple, powerful feeling that pulsed with every step. He could incorporate Maya's joy into the company's message, creating something genuine and heartfelt. But just then, as they reached the back of the stage, a voice he hadn't expected stopped him dead in his tracks. Jack! We have a problem, Leo shouted, his voice laced with urgency. Jack's heart pounded harder. What now? Just when he thought he could breathe again, Another storm was brewing. How would he make it through? Would the joy he just found sustain him in another impending crisis? Jack's heart sank further as he turned to Leo, confusion mingling with the remnants of relief he'd felt moments before. "What do you mean, a problem?" he demanded, his voice sharper than intended. Maya, sensing the sudden tension, tugged on his hand, her innocent eyes wide with concern. "There's a major issue with the venue," Leo replied, glancing around as if someone might overhear them. "The sound system just went down. We can't hold the meeting if we can't present." Jack's stomach turned at the words. They'd already been struggling to keep the board's attention, and now this? The stakes felt impossibly high. He was about to launch into a passionate pitch about the new project that could reshape their company's image and perhaps make a real difference for kids like Maya. But without the right technology, the entire presentation could crumble. "What happened?" Jack asked, trying to steady his breathing. He needed to keep his head clear for Maya's sake too. Leo sighed, running a hand through his hair. "They're working on it, but it might take a while. We could be delayed for hours." The crowd around them buzzed with uncertainty. Staff rushed back and forth, murmurs spreading like wildfire. Jack's grip on Maya tightened as he processed the need to hold it together. He glanced at her. Her face lit up with possibility, as if this was an adventure rather than a setback. The purity of her spirit brushed against his worries, giving him a moment of clarity. "Maya," he said, kneeling to meet her gaze directly. "What do you think we should do? How do we make this fun while we wait?" She tilted her head, considering the question with the seriousness of someone far older than her years. After a moment, she brightened. "Can we dance?" she asked, looking around at the cleared stage, wide open and empty. Jack felt a spark of hope ignite. "Why not? Dance?" he echoed, feeling a smile break through the stress. "Sure! Let us show them that we can have fun, even when things go wrong." With a nod from Leo, who was still visibly stressed but surprisingly on board, Jack motioned for the nearest staff member. "Can we get a portable speaker? We need some music." Maya clapped her hands, and soon, with a makeshift stage and a low-key speaker, Jack found himself on stage with her. The anxious crowd turned curious, faces shifting from worry to bemusement. He pulled her up, and they began to sway to the rhythm of an upbeat, cheerful song that echoed through the hall. Maya giggled, spinning in circles, her laughter infectious. Jack's heart soared as he watched her whirl like a dervish. There was something about her uninhibited joy that made the anxiety around them dissipate. The guests began to clap along, some even joining in. An impromptu dance party ignited the gloom hovering over the event. As they danced, Jack felt something shift within him. This little girl, with her unyielding spirit, was creating a bridge that connected him with a world he had almost forgotten, the world filled with spontaneity and play. "See?" he said breathlessly to Maya, catching her after a spin. "We just turned a problem into a celebration." But just as the music reached a crescendo, the glow of happiness made way for another wave of panic. Leo's phone buzzed furiously in his pocket. He glanced at it, and his face blanched. "Jack," he said, his voice suddenly urgent again. "There's a bigger storm brewing with the board. They're threatening to pull funding if we can't impress them today." Jack felt the weight of defeat start to creep back in. Just when he thought he could nurture a moment of magic, reality crashed down. Could he fight this battle while still hoping to draw strength from Maya's joy? The dance was still going, but now they were on the precipice of a heavy decision. Jack clenched his fists, tears of frustration threatening to spill. Could he salvage this passionate moment into something more? Would they all fall short just as the dance faded away? And as the music echoed into the calm that followed, Jack knew he had to find a way to turn this storm into something transformative. Could he guide this little girl to help them all find courage in chaos? The room held its breath as Jack stood there, torn between the infectious joy of dancing with Maya and the heavy weight of the board's expectations pressing down on him. He felt the pulsating energy of the crowd around him, resonating with an unexpected hope. "Maya," he said, crouching to her level, "what if we invite everyone to join us?" Her eyes sparkled with delight, and she nodded vigorously. Without hesitation, Jack raised his arms, beckoning to the crowd. Come on! Join us! One by one, hesitant faces turned into smiles, and soon the audience was filling the stage. It was like a ripple effect. People who had been nervous and anxious were now laughing and moving together, transforming the atmosphere entirely. Jack couldn't help but grin as he mirrored Maya's movements, encouraging them to dance with abandon. There was something deeply powerful about this collective joy, a stark contrast to the chaos looming behind the scenes. The music surged, lifting spirits like a tide. Just then, Leo pushed through the crowd, his earlier anxiety giving way to a hint of a smile. Jack, maybe we can video this, he shouted over the music, his eyes darting to the stage where a few staff members had started capturing the moment. We could send this to the board. Jack's heart raced at the idea. Great thinking, Leo. We'll show them that we can create something meaningful even in a mess. With renewed purpose, he danced harder, weaving through the crowd, stirring the energy higher. Each step he took alongside Maya felt like reclaiming a piece of himself that had long been buried under corporate pressures. As they twirled, laughter surrounded him, echoing in joyful bursts. He caught glimpses of parents and children joining in, moving in sync to the infectious rhythm. Jack's heart swelled. Perhaps he could indeed channel this moment to breathe hope into the corporate void that had felt so suffocating. Maya, completely lost in the music, pointed to the sparkling lights above as she danced like a child unbound by worries. In that instant, it struck him this wasn't just a dance, it was a manifestation of hope, resilience, and collective strength. With every spin and every laugh, Jack felt a fire reignited within him. The anxiety from earlier started to fade, replaced with the cool rush of possibility. Perhaps the true presentation wasn't the polished pitch that had once seemed so crucial, but this vibrant outpouring of life and community. Then, just as the song reached its peak, Leo waved his hand dramatically, signaling for everyone to quiet down. Everyone! He shouted, his voice cutting through the remnants of joyous echo. We might not have the tech right now, but look at what they're creating. This is what we need to show the board. Joy, connection, and heartfelt resilience. The crowd erupted again, their enthusiasm overwhelming. Jack took a deep breath, guiding Maya beside him. This moment might be their best chance to show their vision. Okay everyone, let's bring it in close. I want you to feel this energy. He called out, bringing the dancers into a circle, Maya at the center. They held hands, pulling each other close, laughter bubbling anew, a tapestry of smiles and hope intertwining. Jack looked at that beautiful little girl at the center of it all, and he saw the potential reflection of everything they could do together. But just as he felt the crowd's pulse sync up with his own, Leo's phone buzzed again, a stark reminder that the world outside this moment hadn't disappeared. Jack's heart sank once more as Leo slipped back, reading the message with a furrowed brow. What had happened now? Could they really turn this joyous chaos into something impactful enough to save their project? Jack steeled himself, knowing the answer lay not just in the dance but in what would come next. What if he could solidify this connection, this magic, into a deeper message that resonated even beyond the walls of this venue? Would they be bold enough to embrace the uncertainty and harness it into a new vision? The question lingered, daring him to leap into the unknown. Jack felt the energy around him shift. The laughter and music faded for a moment, replaced by the nervous vibrations of uncertainty that came with Leo's message. The crowd was still buzzing, hands clasped tightly in a circle, unaware of the looming doubt that hung over Jack like a thick cloud. What does it say? Jack asked, his heart racing. Leo shifted his weight, the smile melting from his face. It's about the budget cuts. They want to pull funding for our project based on this. Jack's stomach lurched. He glanced at the joyful dancers surrounding him, their faces beaming with energy. But this is exactly what we need. This community, this joy, it's essential. Leo looked down, scrolling through his phone again. But they don't see it that way. They want numbers, results, something tangible. Jack inhaled deeply, his mind spinning. It felt unjust that the spirit of their vision could be overshadowed by a spreadsheet. He turned to Maya, who beamed up at him with all the innocence of a child. It was a reminder of what this project had been about all along, connecting people, nurturing dreams. "Okay, everyone," Jack called out, reigniting the energy in the circle. "Stay close, just like this. I want you to remember this feeling." He gestured broadly, making eye contact with as many people as he could. "This is us. This is our fight. We are all in this together. After all, what is more important than the happiness we feel right now?" Maya bounced in place, her laughter ringing out like a bell. The crowd erupted into cheers, the doubts beginning to fade as laughter took over once again. Then, Jack had an idea, a burst of inspiration that felt electric. "All right. Let us send this out. Let us show the world what we can create together. We can do a live feed. Let us capture this moment, and everything it stands for. Who's with me?" The crowd responded with roaring excitement, hands clapping and voices calling out in agreement. Their energy was contagious, and Jack felt a thrill surge through him. He and Leo exchanged determined looks. This was a chance they couldn't let slip away. "Okay. Leo, get the cameras rolling. We're doing this live," Jack shouted, determination igniting his words. People began to chant, "Jack! Jack! Jack!" And he stepped into the center, the energy flowing through him like a rush of adrenaline. "Today," he said, raising his voice, "we celebrate who we are together. We dare to dream. We dare to lift each other up. Let this moment echo through the halls of the boardroom. Let them see what we're capable of." He turned to Maya and then the crowd. "Everyone on three, I want you to shout hope. Let the world hear us. 1, 2, 3. Hope!" The word exploded through the room, vibrating off the walls and sending a shiver of excitement down Jack's spine. He could feel the warmth of connection washing over him, as if every heartbeat was syncing to a single powerful rhythm. What if this was the tipping point? What if this ray of improvisation could be transformed into a tool for change, a rallying cry for all those who felt disconnected in a world driven by numbers? As Leo worked his magic with the camera, Jack's gaze flickered to the smiling faces. The weight in his chest started to lighten. In every joyful laugh, every twirling dancer, a new vision began to take shape. Could they really turn this moment into something the board would have to pay attention to? Jack's heart raced at the potential, but he couldn't shake the lurking fear that this was all just a fleeting moment. And yet, there was Maya, enthralled in the dance, her tiny hands lifted high. "Look, Jack! We're flying!" she squealed, spinning around. "Yeah," he called back, his voice bursting with hope. "We're just getting started." But even as the music swept them away, uncertainty lingered in the air. Would they really be able to translate this joy into a winning strategy? Would their daring leap be enough to secure a future for their project? Before Jack could dive into that vast uncertainty, Leo's panic-stricken face suddenly reappeared at his side. "Jack, there's something we need to talk about. It could change everything." Jack's excitement collided with trepidation as he braced himself for what was to come. What could be so critical that it clouded this vibrant moment? Jack felt the room lurch as Leo's anxious voice broke through the celebration. His heart sank at the thought of yet another crisis threatening to overshadow the joy they had just created. "What is it, Leo?" he asked, trying to mask the growing unease in his voice. "It's about the board's final decision. It could affect us all," Leo said, glancing sideways as if the walls were listening in. Jack looked around at the colorful scene before him, Maya still twirling, other children joining in, the atmosphere bubbling with laughter. How could the board's decisions overshadow this moment? "What do you mean?" Jack pressed, his stomach tightening. Leo sighed deeply, visibly conflicted. "They want to terminate the project if you can't convince them with solid proof, something beyond just this dance. They want metrics, Jack. Real evidence that the community you're trying to reach connects to your vision." Jack felt the room tightening, the laughter slowly beginning to fade around him. "But this is it. What we just created proves our vision in a heartbeat." He gestured dramatically around the space, desperate for Leo to see it. As the rhythmic melodies shifted back to their closing notes, Jack turned to face the crowd, a daunting realization dawning on him. It was more than just a dance. It was a rebellion against everything cold and calculating that had overshadowed their mission. "All right, listen up," he called out, the energy of the crowd coursing through him again as he stamped his foot for attention. "Everyone, I need your help." The crowd quieted, all eyes on him, and he felt a surge of adrenaline. What we just created, this connection, this joy, it's what our project is about. It's about making dreams a reality for kids like Maya, and families struggling to find hope. We stand for something bigger than ourselves. A wave of cheers rippled through the audience, this time igniting a fire within Jack. He locked eyes with Maya, her expression filled with a kind of cheerful determination that radiated hope. We can turn our passion into proof. We can prove to the board that community matters more than any number on a report. Just then, a child from the audience shouted, "Let us show them what we can do." "Yes," Jack exclaimed, his heart racing with renewed belief. "Let us make it a community event. Let us gather stories, pictures, and videos. Each of you has a story that matters, something that can help us turn this moment into something tangible." As he spoke, he could see it, an idea born from the joy they had stirred moments ago. Every spirit in that crowd had the potential to paint a picture of their dreams. Jack turned to Leo, and in that instant, he could sense the shift in energy between them. "This is our chance. You'll see it can work." In a burst of excitement, awe spread through the crowd. They began to cheer their enthusiasm back at him, supportive and engaged. "We'll record each story, each dance, each moment of laughter, and we'll send it to the board. All of us together." Jack felt whole in this moment, his idea not just a plan but an uprising of hope. With cheers erupting around him, Maya jumped up and down in delight, her excitement infectious. "And we can make cool signs," she added, her tiny hands demonstrating the artwork she envisioned. Her passion fueled his resolve. "Exactly. That's the spirit," Jack called out over the sound of inspiration igniting the air. "Basic ordinary evidence isn't enough, but our passion? Our collective hearts? That's irrefutable." The music shifted into the background and moved into a new tempo as Jack pulled Maya closer, spinning her around like a whirlwind of joy. The others followed suit, dancing and laughing, free from the weights of reality for this moment. And then clarity flowed in. This wasn't just about saving a project anymore. It was about rekindling a sense of community, about merging dreams and stories into something palpable. As the music rose again, with vibrant excitement echoing around them, Jack took a deep breath, allowing the energy to settle in his heart. This felt monumental not just for him but for everyone gathered there. They would march forward together, no matter the burden of proof that the corporate world demanded. "Maya," Jack stated, crouching down to her eye level, every ounce of seriousness shining through his gaze. "Are you ready to show them the power of dreams?" "Yes," she squealed, her eyes sparkling with confidence. In that moment, Jack knew they weren't just creating a dance, they were crafting a message. And as the crowd erupted again in shared excitement, he stood hand in hand with Maya. Together, they shared a vision of hope that felt more certain than any corporate numbers. The echoes of applause filled his ears once again, and the curtain on their moment of joy raised. Would they undertake this leap together? Jack felt the warmth spreading within him and across the faces of the community, sealing their resolve. The outside world and its pressures would soon return. Jack could feel it in the pit of his stomach. But for now, he would embrace every second of the love and laughter that surrounded them. "We're just getting started," he thought, awash in the feeling that the real battle awaited, but at least they wouldn't fight it alone. And now, as the final beats of music faded, he was determined to make sure that none of their dreams slipped away like grains of sand. But for now, they would dance. And when they danced, they would not just move their feet. They would shake the foundations beneath the corporate world that had tried to hold them back. Soon, everyone would know the dance of life they created together would resonate more than mere numbers ever could. Now, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let it know about this transformative journey. And comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Your input inspires us to keep going. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand how crucial it is to support this channel so we can keep creating stories that inspire.